Atletico Madrid cannot beat Real Madrid in the Champions League. It's like they're cursed against Madrid in the Champions League. They had everything in their favor. We're going to talk about that match, and we'll quickly look at all the score lines in the Champions League today. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys follow, subscribe, check out all the platform links down below. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. I'm your host as always, Gerardo and Tomas. Thank you for hopping on. Let's give a quick recap of your instant reaction of just what happened. What do you think went down? What went wrong for Atletico in this game?
I mean, the only thing Atletico couldn't really do was score at the end. I mean, they had opportunities, they had chances, they created a lot of good ones, they countered very well, but they just couldn't put it in the back of the net when it came down to it, and it ends up costing them.
They were overall for most of the match. I feel like Atleti were the most dangerous team, or at least for at least like 70 minutes up until like the legs kind of started to get tired. Then it was more Real Madrid who took initiative and had more control. But the best plays Atleti had them on their side. I mean, 27 seconds in, when you're scoring that early into the game, I mean, everything tends to swing your way, and that's what happened for Atletico in this game. I mean, 27 seconds in, Conor Gallagher gets on the end of a little bit of a ball just bouncing inside of the box, and he becomes the first Englishman to score the fastest Champions League goal in history. And he ties it on aggregate 2-2. And from there and forward, I mean, Atleti were the better team, and they had everything in their power to score a second goal, and they probably should have if Courtois wasn't in net. I think that was for Madrid. That was their best player, Courtois.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Courtois, he saved, I think he had about like 8 saves by the time the match finished. So, I mean, that shows you a lot. And I mean, on top of that, the penalty save that he had, I mean, it was needed.
Yeah. One of the big sayings a lot of people say is attack can win you games, but defense wins you trophies. And in this case, Real Madrid's defense was on point for the most part. They had a few sloppy plays, looking at like Mendy slipping, but for the most part, Rudiger was on his A game. Asensio as well had a few good recoveries, especially in the second half. He looked world class for still a very young center back. And then Courtois, obviously, we know he's easily one of the best goalkeepers, if not the best goalkeeper in the world or of this generation as well. And like you said, he pulled 7-8 saves in the entirety of the 120 minutes, let alone in the penalty shootout. But yeah, I think for me, he was the best player for Madrid, because going forward, Vinicius kind of lacked, especially since he missed the penalty kick. Mbappe had won the penalty kick inside of the box. He was fouled by Lenglet. But other than that, I mean, Mbappe did nothing. Rodrigo, somewhat the same. Bellingham, iffy as well. Going forward, Madrid were kept quiet because defensively, Atletico were very sound.
Yeah, I mean, Atletico pretty much. I mean, what we've known them for, which they if we go back into the beginning of the season, 6-7 months back, they really struggled defensively for some reason. They were having high margin games, 4-3, 4-4. But now it's kind of like they're more defensively sound, like you just said, and they're able to counter very quickly and very precisely as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we saw in this game. That's what they were trying to do. As soon as they scored that first goal, I mean, it was like, okay, let's hold on and try to find that second goal off of the counter. Because if they try to play al tú por tú with Real Madrid's going to beat them every single time in space. And that's what we saw in the only play where Real Madrid did break down Atleti. It was Mbappe. He took on Lenglet and Maria Jimenez out the back. He dribbled right between both of them as if they were not even there, as if they were just little training cones. Lenglet brings him down. It's a penalty kick. And honestly, that could have been the game for Atleti in that moment right there. It would have been Lenglet's fuck up. But Vinicius, I don't know if it was under the pressure or the nerves that he just succumbed to it and completely skies the ball. He sends it to the Bernabeu next door, because that shit was just not even on target, bro. So I wanted to ask that, because that would have been game if maybe Mbappe took it. Why do you think Vinicius took it instead of Mbappe, especially since Mbappe has been the one taking penalties for the most part of the season?
I think it has to do with the fact that he needs a Ballon d'Or PR. So, I mean, he said he could do it 10 times, but he can't even do it once here. But
dude,
it just shows you that nobody is above the team. When there's a penalty, when there is a set in stone penalty kick taker, that has not messed up, you should not move him. If that penalty kick taker is iffy, well, maybe move it around. But if he's solid like Mbappe has been, I don't see the need to move him.
Yeah, I don't know what his record is from the spot for Madrid this season, but I know he's had at least over 5 penalty kicks this season, and he scored 5 or more. I can tell you that for sure. So I don't know why they would move it around. Maybe because this is what I'm thinking, my personal opinion. But a lot of the fans at the Metropolitano were kind of raining down hard on Vinicius, and Vinicius likes to get in he likes to be involved in the match in every facet of the match. And he was talking to the fans, like he was getting fouled. He was like rubbing the crest on the side over here, kind of taunting the fans. So if he had the opportunity to score a goal and then celebrate in front of them, of course he was going to take it. But I just added more fuel to the fire for Atletico, because when he missed that, the whole stadium was going crazy.
It's kind of funny because at the end of the game, he's rubbing the badge again, but he missed the penalty, got subbed out, and he didn't even take a penalty at the end.
And he wasn't influential at all. Like,
if anything, he hurt his team more than he helped them today.
A lot of in-between plays for both teams. It goes to extra time, then into PKs. And it was fascinating. One of the commentators mentioned that this was Courtois' first ever PK shootout in the Champions League ever.
It's because Madrid has not got into penalty shootouts often. They usually
always end to finish the games in like 90, 120 minutes max.
It's because it's easier to rob a game by full time.
But actually, that's not true. That's not true, because you saw, and we'll talk about that right now, they called off Julian Alvarez's penalty, which to me was complete bullshit. And I don't know the rules like that. And I guess if it is the rule, if there's a double touch during the penalty kick shootout, I mean, I guess it's not supposed to count. But in my opinion, that's so harsh, especially since he scored it. That was the way he was going. The trajectory of the ball was not changed drastically, where that left foot that supposedly touched his shot, I mean, it would have changed anything. I don't think it would have changed anything at all. So I thought that was extremely harsh for Atleti, for Julian Alvarez. If anything, maybe it should have been recalled and taken again. But I think that's a rule that maybe should be looked at, because that was extremely harsh for or against Atleti.
Supposedly the rule is if the penalty kick taker touches the ball a second time before anybody else touches it, it's an indirect free kick. But the thing is, in a shootout, it's not really precisely said that it's invalid, or if it's taken again, it's really left up to the referee's discretion. So I guess he kind of just invalidates the goal, and that's what it is. That's up to the referee's discretion at that.
That was extremely harsh to call for, and I wouldn't have called it if I was the referee in that situation. At least retake it, but whatever. The rules are the rules. Regardless of that, I mean, Llorente also had the opportunity, because we saw Lucas Vazquez miss his PK, or I mean, Oblak had a good save in the PK, but then it was Llorente who hit the crossbar, and that was just the opportunity to at least keep the game going. But once he hits the crossbar, it's in Rudiger's hands to basically win the game for him. And like we saw against Man City just last season, they did the same thing this season.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's incredible how lucky they get sometimes as well.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this in the last podcast, where in football you need a little bit of luck, and it's crazy. I still think it's crazy that before the call and everything, I was telling you that if it goes to PKs, it's gonna be Madrid's game to win, because Atletico needed that goal in 120 minutes. Because I don't know, Real Madrid, they have like that aura, they have that look, the spirit, I don't know what you want to call it, but they have something on their side at all times that always helps them get that extra step. And yeah, it's always the opposite for Atletico Madrid. We've seen that countless times, especially against Real Madrid. I mean, if you look at the 2013 final, was it 2013 or 2014 final? It was 2014.
2014. 2014.
And semifinals and quarterfinals, it's always swung Real Madrid's way, even if it's by a string of luck. So it's just another unfortunate Madrid derby for Atletico. Real Madrid go through, I wouldn't say rightfully. I think Atleti have been the better team in both legs. But we know football is not about who deserves it more. It's just getting the job done. And that's what Real Madrid did. And I think next up, they're going to face Arsenal, an Arsenal team that destroyed PSV 9-3 on aggregate. that's going to be a very difficult game for both teams. I can see Arsenal pulling in Atletico as well, just choking because, like Atletico, Arsenal are frequent bottle jobs. So Real Madrid could easily probably make it to the semifinals. We'll quickly touch on the other results. Aston Villa destroyed Brugge as well. And then in the morning, we saw Lille fail against Dortmund. Dortmund going to the quarterfinals. Surprisingly, Dortmund still find a way to make it through. While they're sitting in 10th place in the Bundesliga, they're into the quarterfinals, just very similar to what we saw last season where they were struggling in the Bundesliga, but they made it far into the Champions League. That kind of wraps up everything for today. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, check out all the platform links down below. Tomas, thank you for hopping on. This was a very short episode, but this was the main game. This was the game, the Madrid Derby that we want to talk about. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.